in deep trouble. All of these forces are on his front. Now, we actually have an assault over here between FiReSToRM and FateZero. Dunetiger's not careful. He may lose his APCs to all of these gunwalkers and to all of these ships right here. It's already getting close to half HP. Welcome to Kane's Wrath. I'm your host, Korak, and today's map is Arizona Sunshine. This is the July and August patch 1.03 league with a $200 prize pool. Starting us off in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, wearing the red and purple robes, sporting the scrin and GDI gloves, we have Pennywise. Joined today by Rildcom. Their opponents for the moment in the top right-hand corner of the map, wearing the orange and pink robes, sporting the steel talon and nod gloves, we have Dunetiger. Joined today by Svenson. All fighters ready? Begin! We are starting off fast and we are starting off strong. The scouting has already begun on all sides of the map, and this is a large map to expand into. There's no blue Tiberium within easy access. There are 3 sets of Tiberium on the map, one in the top left and one in the bottom right, with a center one, obviously in the center. First set of buzzer squads do manage to get taken out over here by orange. It looks like the scouting for Pennywise over here was unsuccessful. He lost those buzzer squads quite quickly, but that's not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. Everybody has grabbed their Tiberium spikes. I believe there is 1 per person on this particular map. Actually, no, it looks like there might be 2 per person. I don't know where the secondary one is over here. I'm pretty sure someone will be screaming at me in the comments where it is currently located, but with those early on blue Tiberium spikes, that'll make a difference in the late game and even a little bit in the early game. We do have our first set of foxholes over here by Dunetiger. Dunetiger setting up inside of the base of Rildcom, doing that traditional GDI annoyance. I'm sure that's going to go down here any moment. I guess they're deciding to ignore it to move the pit bulls out further into something. More than a handful of people have gotten their garrisons out, and actually we got our first little sneaky bit of harvesting over here for the blue Tiberium, but the pitbull does manage to pack it out. It has to back out just as quickly itself though, because there is a Titan and an MRT on the way. The forces for all of the factions here are starting to build up rather quickly. However, if Rildcom is not careful here, he's going to get caught in a really bad position. However, he is reinforced by his opponent. Pennywise did have some forces over here helping him out. The biggest problem is going to be that Titan, and they do manage to take out a harvester in the midst of all of that. They do lose 2 pit bulls, but a second harvester is about to get taken down for Dunetiger. That's going to be really unfortunate. Losing those harvesters early on is going to make a difference, especially in the exponential graph that is the economy in this game. The assault is continuing on the base. It just finally got squashed with the deployment of that watchtower, but Dunetiger is still down 2 harvesters. He lost a little bit of blue Tiberium and then a half load of blue Tiberium afterwards. All natural bases or natural expansions are developing quite nicely for everybody. People are moving quite rapidly in this, and we're getting all kinds of action. Actually, looks like we missed a little bit of an assault down over here. It looks like our pink player, Svenson, did a little bit of assaulting on Rildcom's base. I was unable to see if he was able to grab anything in particular. Harvester for Rildcom probably moving towards the center of the map, or at least I hope that is where he is going. If he's going somewhere else, I cannot tell, unless his goal is to sneak some of this Tiberium while some of his forces over, and that does appear to be the case, but Svenson is not going to let it happen, so he's deciding to back that Harvester up. That Harvester might actually get isolated and taken out here. Svenson can capitalize on that, and then, oh no, that Harvester just has 1 little bit of HP left. However, Svenson did not lose any units in that small little bit of engagement. He does forget a bike over here, probably a little bit in the micro, just missing it just barely, but the bike does survive, and they were able to do a lot of damage to that Harvester, preventing it from harvesting even more. Dunetiger tried to do a little bit of assault in the north, but it looks like Pennywise's defenses are definitely not lacking. They take down a Titan almost for free without losing really any units themselves. One of the scouts for Dunetiger are taken out inside of Pennywise's base. Pennywise moving over towards the center of the map and probably going to try to take out this Tiberium spike. I believe that is a contested Tiberium spike, so there's normally one per person, but that does appear to be a contested spike. It's going to be taken out just quickly, but I believe it has already at least repaid itself. Svenson getting caught in a little bit of a precarious spot over here, might also lose a couple of his bikes, but he does take a Pitbull out almost for free. He is still in a really bad position. Another bike gets taken down, bike after bike gets taken down, and oh no, that is extremely unfortunate for Svenson, losing those units. They just got absolutely pinched by Pennywise and Rildcom. Rildcom and Pennywise doing a very good job of supporting each other and capitalizing on their opponent's mistakes, like right there. And that's what can make a big difference in this, because this is not a 1v1 game. This is a 2v2 game, and your ability to coordinate with your opponent are extremely, extremely important. We're getting our first little bit of assault over. Pennywise is moving into the base of Dunetiger. He needs to regroup his forces a little bit so he can concave. However, that is a mammoth take and several Titans to deal with. That's going to be a lot to fight, but he might have the forces over here with these Devourer tanks, especially with them being fully charged. Titan after Titan gets taken out. That's 2 Titans down, possibly 3 here in a second. There was 3 Titans. There goes, I believe that was a beam cannon. Oh no, these beam cannons are not being paid attention by Svenson. Svenson is losing them left and right as the forces of Pennywise begin to move in. And we have got another assault over here in the south. It looks like we had a little engagement between Svenson and Rildcom. Looks like Svenson was on top of it. The left-hand side of the team is doing very, very good in this round of just doing this constant harassment on Dunetiger, on Svenson. They are able to push them out, but for the most part, they are on their back foot having to take that. Here are some reinforcements over here by Rildcom to support his buddy, to support Pennywise in this push, or at least to help defend him while he continues his assault in the south with these Predator tanks. Most of the Scorpion tanks, we saw a large number of Scorpion tanks over here in the south by Svenson, and they were taken out rather handily. It looks like at least a good number of them taken out. They are supported now by avatars, and it looks like Pennywise is not done with his assault. He's going to try to knock out more of the infrastructure of his opponent of Dunetiger, and Dunetiger is electing to stay within his base and get some repairs done on all of his units. He's building a good number of mammoth tanks. He did enter low power mode after losing that particular unit, and we actually have a set of slingshots here to deal with the air units. One does get taken out by a tripod, but they are here for the defense. They do sort of push Pennywise's forces out. If they're not careful, these mammoth tanks are going to do quite a decent amount of damage. There's a good number of AA here. However, there's not power in these AA turrets. They just finally came online. Rildcom is building an assault over here in the south, and he's going to be trying to attack Svenson here in a moment. Things are not looking good for the faction on the right, and there is the one click knocking down the majority of the forces of Dunetiger. Dunetiger is in a really bad space. He's going to lose a whole bunch because of that one click. The assault over here in the south has begun for Rildcom. Rildcom is moving in on Svenson's forces. Svenson's forces seem to be lacking in the defenses. There is a large number of rockets here, but there are also rifleman squads to support them. While Pennywise begins to win the assault against Dunetiger in the north, the right-hand side of the team is losing infrastructure after infrastructure. They have some decent units built up, but nothing compared to the left-hand side of the faction. The infrastructure in the base is all but gone, but Dunetiger has decided to call in the GG, giving all of his forces to Svenson, but I'm not sure it's going to matter. The enemy is on their front doorstep, and now you have to deal with 2 microing, macroing players at the same time. I'm not sure why Svenson is still in this match, is still in this round. It is over, and there it is. There is the GG. Svenson throws in the towel, giving this first round to Pennywise and Rildcom. That was match 1, round 1. Grab yourself some refreshment, commanders, and I'll see you in the next one. Welcome to match 2, round 2 between Pennywise and Rildcom versus Dunetiger and Svenson. We are on the map Asteroid Outpost. Score is now 1-0 in Pennywise and Rildcom's favor. Pennywise has elected to switch over to the cyan and has decided that he is going to go with Sprin this time around. We still have Rildcom in the purple. He is going with GDI this go around. We still have our orange player being Dunetiger, sticking with or moving to GDI, and we have it looks like Svenson still in the pink, sticking with Nod. This is actually not a map I get to see very often whatsoever. These two contested Tiberium spikes, I'm sure, are going to be quite a large amount of resources early on in the game. And it actually looks like we have an EMP control center sort of in this like southern part of the base, or in the I guess southern's not the right word, in this sort of like sunken section of the base. That's kind of interesting to look at. I really have not seen this map whatsoever. This map does appear to be some sort of split, as in it was a 1v1 that was converted into a 2v2, and I'm going to take a wild guess and say the split is right here in the center. Everyone has really begun their scouting. I think there is one Tiberium spike per player over here, and I'm actually unsure of where Rildcom is going. Is his goal to move over here into Pink's base, into Svenson's base, and maybe start taking some of his resources? Is that what's happening on the other side? Yeah, that does appear to be the case for each one. Maybe their goal is to make it to this growing Tiberium. Maybe one person goes towards the growing Tiberium and one person goes towards both of these right here. I'm not sure. I guess they can use the build radiuses off of each other. So, for example, right here, Svenson is moving here in between these guys, so Dunetiger can build a refinery here, and he can build a refinery here, and then the goal with this other one is to maybe set up some defenses out this way, get some build radius, get some defenses that before they get to the base. Dunetiger loses a little bit of troops here over to the pillbox of his opponent. Rildcom not quite able to capture those two Tiberium spikes, but is able to defend them with a pillbox that's going to be helpful to him. And it looks like we lost a little bit of a scout over here by Rildcom. Rildcom lost a pit bull and was only able to make it so far, only able to make it into the natural expansion. So he does know that they have expanded and that they are a little bit behind on that, but that is extremely minor in the grand scheme of things. Seeker Tank's out for Pennywise. That's going to be really good against the APCs of Dunetiger if he groups them correctly. One Seeker Tank is half HP, and actually, no, there appears to be rocket squads in here, sort of evening up the score for that fight, making it much harder for those Seeker Tanks to deal with. A ping does come out for Pennywise. Pennywise is letting him know that there are APCs here with rocket squads in here, and it looks like Pennywise and Rildcom are doing a very good job once again of grouping and capitalizing on their opponent's mistake. They keep trying to do these sandwiching moves to great effect, and so far they found great purchases. However, the right-hand side of the team is doing the same thing. They are coordinating rather well this time around. Svenson is over here for the defense of Dunetiger, helping to push out some of the forces. He's trying to use his superior mobility in order to get a couple more shots off on his respective opponents and where he can. However, if he's not careful, he's going to lose some units right here. And looks like the auto-pathing right there is not in his favor. He split up a couple of his units, not able to concave, not able to fire at the exact same time. And it looks like Svenson is going to lose a good chunk of forces. The massive amount of pit bulls and gun walkers from the left-hand side team is just too much to deal with, and it looks like unit count-wise, they're going to be a little bit lesser over here. Rildcom putting a scout in his opponent's base, nothing major right there, and it looks like they are going to, it looks like Pennywise is going to once again take out the Tiberium spike of his opponent if he is able to. It is pretty close to dead. He's probably, Dunetiger that is, has probably made his money back on it, but losing that is still going to suck. Rildcom did manage to actually take this Tiberium spike. We are getting our first assault over here. It looks like Dunetiger is moving his way into the center of the map. He's going to start taking over that area, start taking over control of the center, which is going to be really important. If he's got the time, it might be worth sniping this particular Tiberium spike, unless he's got an APC on the way with a engineer inside of it. Svenson sneaking past Pennywise over here rather quickly. Those units can do, that's 4, not quite 5. You need 5 to do 2 volleys on a harvester. However, they can do a good amount of damage. Lightning Spike is going to start doing a good chunk of damage to these bikes, and one bike is probably going to get taken out here in a second. And oh no, it actually looks like the Lightning Spike's not doing as much much damage they may be able to get a harvester full of blue Tiberium. That would be worth it for those 4 bikes. And there it is. They managed to find their purchase. They managed to deny the blue Tiberium from their opponent. Dunetiger has moved more and more into the center. He's going with a good number of man spam with a couple of reinforcements of Predator tanks against the APCs and Predator tanks of his opponents. However, there's a Shatterer here for Rildcom, but Rildcom is still going to get pushed out. And meanwhile, this whole time, it looks like Dunetiger is able to take both Tiberium spikes over in the center. That northern Tiberium spike is going to take some time in order to warrant its capture, because after you capture it a second time around, as in if you capture it behind something, you don't get the $500 basically rebate. And if Dunetiger's not careful, he may lose his APCs to all of these gunwalkers and to all of these ships right here. It's already getting close to half HP, and Dunetiger's forces are a little bit out of the way as as Pennywise moves into his base, and there it goes. There is the APC. That is a super, super great snipe for Pennywise. Pennywise finding an amazing hole in Dunetiger's base. And even after that, the forces of Dunetiger are not going to be able to assault or not be able to deal with Pennywise. Pennywise is absolutely on top of his game this time around. He's pressuring Dunetiger to a large degree. We do have an AA battery on the front yard, or on the front battlefield, and that is going to be able to take out some of the air units. So that's going to be good for Dunetiger. However, there are still a lot of units on his front doorstep to deal with. Meanwhile, in the south, it looks like Svenson is fighting off Rildcom, using his Scorpion tanks to pressure and push out his opponent. There are a couple of snipers here. It looks like he missed, but I'm not sure that's going to matter. The right-hand side team manages to retake the center of the map, at least for the time being. Pennywise does finally get pushed out, but not after dealing a lot of damage to Dunetiger. Dunetiger's not looking in a great spot. Losing that construction yard is going to cost him 3,500 if he chooses to replace it. However, his opponent is doing quite well in the center. If he's not careful, though, he will get pincered here by a couple of units. Actually, that's not quite as many as I thought it was. Avatars on the front with man spam moving forward. That is usually a good combo. I've seen Futurama use that multiple times to great effect, especially against Skren. I'm not sure if it's as effective against GDI, and it looks like the tier 3 for Dunetiger is going to get taken out. That is extremely unfortunate. There is the fire sale of this base over here, and probably the fire sale of his natural, or of his old main base. He's going to focus on his natural expansion and possibly building units here to fight that. He does have the forces now to kill Pennywise's troops, to kill Pennywise's tripods, and he's probably going to try to do that. But oh no, there is the one click right on cue, separating many of the forces and isolating one of these mana tanks. That is extremely, extremely unfortunate. Those one clicks do not require any skill whatsoever, and they are absolutely devastating. It is absolutely hard to see that coming. This fight was previously, in my opinion, in Dunetiger's favor, but that one click absolutely destroyed his forces. And we actually got an EMP on 3 tripods. That is a super great EMP, but it's not going to matter once again, because Dunetiger is just absolutely getting destroyed by Pennywise. The forces of, however, the same can also be said against Rildcom. Rildcom is starting to lose his infrastructure in the south against Svenson. Svenson doing a very, very good job of taking out his opponent. So it's probably going to turn into a bit of a base race. It's going to depend on whether or not Dunetiger can hold on, Dunetiger can defend, or if Svenson can get some forces there to start the defense for him. It does look like he is building a Redeemer that could definitely help there, and and actually looks like Svenson moved into Venom to start taking out the tripod. That is a very good call. They even have a couple of upgrades and a couple of ranks to Svenson is truly proving to be the MVP of this map, with Pennywise falling closely behind. Rildcom finally is able to push Svenson out of his base with a large number of mammoth tanks. One click, I forgot to mention, did come out for the forces of Pennywise, but they're just going to ignore those tripods as best they can as these rocket squads move in to start taking out these Annihilator tripods. And if everyone's not careful, they may actually lose all of these husks here in the center. That could get Dunetiger back on the map if he's able to get a couple of engineers over here to fight that. That did sound like the Redeemer has finally popped out there. Yep, there it is for Svenson, and Svenson has rebuilt a large number of man spam and has Venoms and a couple of tanks, as well as one surviving Purifier over here in the south. Things have slowed down just a little bit. Everybody is licking their wounds and just trying to get out what units they can. If Pennywise is not careful, he's going to lose another unit. And oh no, there's another great EMP right there. These EMPs have been super, super great for Dunetiger. Dunetiger doing a lot with a little. He is still losing overall in this engagement, but those EMPs are going to make a difference. If you can get another set of EMPs off, that'll do a whole bunch. Maybe man spam is the answer against those tripods, using those rocket squads to fight against all of these units. However, there are a couple of gunwalkers on the front line that can do at least a decent amount of damage. Pennywise has decided to take out the husks that he left behind and his opponent's husks. Probably a good call. It'll take quite a lot to get an engineer over there. And it looks like, actually, Rildcom has given all of his forces to Pennywise. He sees that Pennywise is absolutely on top of everything, and it would be better for him to have all of the resources and everything that he can get his hands on. Rildcom was just not able to deal with Svenson over here, but Pennywise, on the other hand, is doing a very, very good job against Dunetiger, constantly keeping up the pressure, constantly keeping up the assault, and for the most part, saving his forces for when he needs them. If he's not careful, though, he is going to lose a good chunk of troops to the reinforcing army of Svenson. However, he uses Rildcom's old mammoth tanks to sort of pressure some of those units over there. But if he's not careful, he's going to get caught in the pincer. More and more infrastructure of Dunetiger gets taken out as Pennywise decides to avoid the most of the forces that he can of his opponent, as he just continues to kill more and more infrastructure. There is one crane here left for Dunetiger. That's probably what was keeping him in the game, but it's not going to be able to do that much. And he's actually, it looks like Pennywise has actually discovered the old main base of his opponent, is going to start poking out that more and more. What he needs to be doing is, he had those mammoth tanks, he needed to be pushing those mammoth tanks in, because these forces are fully engaged in chasing Pennywise over here. And if they're not careful, this defense over here, or this bait over here, is going to cost them even more infrastructure. There is a Redeemer here over here for the defense. There are a couple of mammoth tanks and tripods moving over here, but they're going to get pressured out by what's left of Dunetiger's forces and what's left of Svenson's forces. The majority of Svenson's forces are still over here in the north dealing with this force of Pennywise. I'm not sure why he didn't commit to the assault. He knew that the majority of Svenson's forces were over here, but maybe he is worried about the Redeemer and all of these rocket squads. I've seen time and time again, like I said with Futurama, where they play Nod or they play a bunch of man spam against a tripod, and that seems to do pretty well against the tripods and tripod shields. Having those rockets can make a big difference. And the other thing, though, too, is the mana tanks don't do very well against the man spam stuff. Pennywise is not out of this fight whatsoever, and neither is Rildcom. Rildcom is still building, and I believe he still has at least one crane left. Yep, there is the one crane. He has some build power, and he's rebuilding his base just a little bit in the south. He's probably spending most of his resources on that barracks, most of his resources on this man spam. Not a bad idea whatsoever when you have that low economy. Providing those literal meat shields can make quite a difference. Pennywise is positioning to move over here in the north. He's possibly considering going all the way around, regrouping his forces and moving in. However, it looks like we're going to get an engagement before that. If he's not careful, he's going to lose a tripod before the battle even really starts. These rocket squads taking it down to half HP and taking the shield down just as quickly. Pennywise backing up to regroup his forces so he can concave, so they can all fire at once when he needs it. However, it does look like Dunetiger and Svenson are ready for it. What I would love to see is during this assault is Pennywise positioning these over here and hitting someone in the south. That seems to be what those higher level players do. However, maybe he thinks he does not have the forces. I don't think he has the gunwalkers to deal with all of this man spam. This is quite a crazy amount to deal with. And then on top of that, you have all these venoms, but this is going to be a large engagement. This is probably going to decide the match here. One click does call out, getting 3 of these purifiers, I believe, and a good chunk of the forces as Pennywise forces move more and more in, and it looks like they are absolutely crushing the forces of the right-hand side of the faction, or right-hand side of the map. They're doing a very, very good job. However, there is no answer to all of these venoms. This could be all for naught if he cannot destroy these venoms. That's going to be extremely difficult to deal with. Pennywise still has a large number of forces, and he won the ground war, but these venoms are putting in a lot of work for Svenson. There is the GG for Pennywise. He does not think that he can kill the combined forces of his opponent. He does not think he has the micro and macro, and throws in the towel. That does tie up our score to 1-1. I will see you in the third match, Commander. Welcome back, Commander. We are back on the map Asteroid Outpost. Our score has tied up 1-1 with the right-hand side faction able to irk out another victory, or able to irk out their first victory, I should say, tying up the score to 1-1. This battle is sponsored by passive-aggressive post-it notes, leaving messages that say everything and nothing. For the moment, it looks like Pennywise has switched over to the blue screen, and it looks like we are keeping the purple GDI for Rildcom. In the north, we have our orange Dunetiger playing GDI, and we have Svenson sticking to the pink, sticking to Nod over in the north. It looks like both sides wanted to make a rematch on this map, which I'm definitely happy for. Like I said, I don't get to see Asteroid Outpost very much. I think it's an interesting map, but I haven't seen enough gameplay to make a real opinion on it for the time being, so it's still nice to see. We're going to get some early scouting over here by Svenson as he moves into the center of the map. What I'm really curious about, what I want to see a little bit more from the left-hand side, was just them tightening up their assaults just a little bit better. The defense for Dunetiger did hold on. He was a little bit shaky early on in the game, but he did much better. He did a lot of work with that crane, a lot of work with the man spam supporting Svenson as Svenson wiped out Rildcom in the south. We're probably going to see some Rildcom versus Svenson action over here in the south, and same thing with their fight in the north. It'll be nice to see what they've learned and how their strategies will adapt, because it's the exact same map. And if I remember correctly, Scrin, GDI, Nod, yeah, exact same factions too. So same map, same factions, but players with more experience on that. Rildcom has moved over into that position over here, a little bit further up. I don't know the thinking behind that, so if any of the players could give me a heads up on that, on why you want to move this MCV here. I mean, like, I know you can use the build radius off your opponents. There's no necessary reason in a 2v2 for you to build all the way over here. So maybe this is just to, like, push your base out to defend a bit more of the parts that you need. I feel like it's a bit exposed, but I guess you can put down buildings rather quickly to help defend it and move forces forward. Still a small amount of scouting per each player. Nothing major going on yet. We don't have anything real sneaky. We do have Rildcom starting to pester one of the harvesters. It will eventually take it out if nothing stops it. There is a bike over here by Svenson. One bike is not going to be enough to deal with this pitbull. There is the sell-off of a couple of turrets in order to get the Confessor Cabal squads, but it does not matter because the bikes are able to take out that pitbull without losing any forces and only minimal damage for Svenson. Svenson really being on top of it in these games so far, doing really well. Pennywise also being a close second to that. Depending on the match, it could definitely tighten up a bit more here. I've seen Rildcom really put in some work. He seems to have caught off guard this time around. I've also seen Dunetiger put in a lot of work, because normally in these matches I would assume that the MVPs would be Dunetiger and Rildcom, but it actually seems to be reversed this time around. You know, unless I'm still learning a lot more about the players. However, this is a 2v2. It is not the same as a 1v1. We are getting our first little bit of engagement running here. We have a repeat of the rocket APCs versus Seeker tanks over here in the north that we saw in the last round, and sort of predictably they do end up doing rather well. So that does seem to be what Dunetiger is sticking with. His mid to late game will be what he's got to have to mix up in order to find better games, since he did get crushed pretty early on in the game. First player seems to be going for their set of blue Tiberium over here. Svenson is going to go ahead and grab it, but his opponent is definitely going to see it. Rildcom actually has a good number of pitbulls over here inside Dunetiger's base. That is extremely unfortunate. One harvester gets taken down. Almost a second harvester gets taken out. However, they do get pushed out by scorpion tanks. That is the call. It does sound like there was an EMP, and there is the EMP on the base of Rildcom, or on the base of Dunetiger. Dunetiger is absolutely stopped over here in his track as Rildcom begins to pick off more and more forces. He did lose a couple of pitbulls here, but that was a great EMP. I don't know if that was from the EMP control center or what. I don't have access, like I can't see where he pulled that EMP from, but usually that sound means that it's from an EMP control center. Svenson not doing as great this time around. It looks like a good chunk of his bikes actually end up getting caught by the forces of Pennywise. Pennywise doing a very good job of pincering those forces, those fast-moving bikes. They are going to try to kill one of these gunwalkers, but they're not going to find the purchases that they need. I'm not sure if the assault was worth it on Dunetiger's base over here, but he did it nonetheless. Rildcom is going to take out one of either a harvester or a scorpion tank. If it was a harvester, that was definitely worth it, but I don't believe he lost really any pitbulls in that particular assault. scouts for Rildcom are moving forward. It looks like they're pushing out these Predator tanks, but I'm just sure the Predator tanks don't really care. They're not really paying attention because they're only going to be able to do so much damage to it. And Rildcom probably even forgot about it. Yeah, I think he forgot about those units entirely. He's going to use them, or he's going to lose them, but he's going to get a little bit of vision from it, so that's not anything to be real upset about. Svenson going back into a couple of Scorpion tanks, probably going to transition into avatars here pretty soon. Dunetiger moving into mammoth tanks much sooner rather than later, and definitely building up much quicker. It looks like he's going with 2 barracks and trying to get a bit of man spam, and he's going to be able to do a little bit of a base push on Pennywise. Pennywise not able to find the purchases on Dunetiger like he did in the previous game. It looks like Svenson is being a bit more passive this time around. However, he was relatively passive and more defensive until early on, or until later on in the game. 1 APC and 1 Gunwalker go down for their respective sides, and everybody is positioning concaving. If they're not careful, though, this mammoth tank could get taken out free. That would be devastating early on, but the base push is there for Dunetiger. Dunetiger is slowly moving his way in. It looks like we lost a good chunk. It looks like we lost maybe 1 or 2 Scorpion tanks over here. Rildcom was able to push those forces out. Everybody's being a bit more cautious this time around. Dunetiger's trying to go for slow and steady. And actually, if he's not careful, Rildcom's going to start taking out more of his infrastructure over here. Dunetiger is not in a position to defend this, and he may lose a good chunk of his deals here. If he loses that outpost, that command post, I'm sorry, that'll be definitely something to be rather upset about. He's deciding to continue his base push onto his opponent, onto Pennywise, while Rildcom pesters inside this line. There is a harvester absolutely filled to the brim of Tiberium. If he's not careful, he's going to lose that. 1 flame tank is going to move forward over here by Svenson, and he's going to take out a couple of the man spam, but nothing really to write home about. However, that is most of what can deal with the Venoms, and these Venoms move in, and there's once again no answer for the Venoms by Rildcom. Rildcom is not done with his assault, though, as he moves his base a little bit further and moves into the south. Svenson moving up to capitalize on grabbing what units are left over here. I'm not sure that's the call. He's probably going to want to defend himself, but then again, he cannot see the assault that's coming. He knows that it is here now, and there are a good number of purifiers here to fight this. There's also a good chunk of snipers here as the Venoms actually start to take out the snipers, but if the Venoms aren't careful, these mammoth tanks are going to start taking them out, and we're actually getting an assault over here in the north. The FOB, the forward base over here by Dunetiger is going to get taken out. We get an EMP on top of a 1-click, and Dunetiger's forces begin to crumble. His forward aggression begins to crumble against Pennywise. Pennywise doing an amazing job with all of his 1-clicks and isolating the forces of his opponents. However, Dunetiger is not done. He is not out of this fight yet. He did not lose his war factory on the front line. He is getting EMP'd left and right, but he is still doing a good chunk of damage. Oh no, these EMPs are just absolutely devastating for Dunetiger. All of his 1-clicks, all of his abilities are just being used to great effect as Dunetiger begins to crumble just a little bit in the north. He still has a good chunk of mammoth tanks, and he still has a good chunk of man spam in order to fight that, as well as an AA to start dealing with these planetary assault carriers. The fight's not over, but it is still going to be quite hairy for Dunetiger. We do get the electric fence on the construction yard, and we get our first sonic emitter pushing out the forces of Pennywise. Dunetiger did not lose everything, but he lost a good chunk of forces there. He's not quite out of that assault quite yet. Svenson is moving in on Rildcom, and if Rildcom's not careful, he's going to lose his MCV, but maybe he thinks that he can do this assault without that. And actually, we're getting a base push by Svenson. Svenson is moving into where Rildcom is going. Granted, this is their natural expansion, but he's going to do everything he can to push Rildcom out of this base. All these harvesters are moving forward. That's 5, maybe 6 harvesters, and if they're not careful, they're all going to get absolutely destroyed unless their goal is just to crush. Maybe that is the deal, and they do get a large number of crushes. These harvesters are going to soak up some of the damage and start killing some of that, maybe helping the defense. However, the damage is done. The construction yard for Rildcom is taken out, and he's lost this aggression over here. He's lost to Svenson over here in the south, and I'm sure that Svenson is going to continue his path forward. He's going to continue moving forward on Rildcom, since Rildcom used a good chunk of his forces. Svenson actually trying to use a couple of his Scorpions over here to pincer some of the opponents, and we're actually getting an assault over here in the north. The forces of Pennywise are moving once again onto Dunetiger's base, onto Dunetiger's FOB over here, not wanting to fully engage, about to lose another planetary assault carrier. It looks like man spam is really the answer to these Strin forces over here in the north. They're able to push out a good chunk. However, if they're not careful, these Venoms are going to get taken out just as quickly, but tripod after tripod begins to fall down. Air unit after air unit begins to fall down. It looks like Dunetiger has found a little bit better purchase this time around. In the south over here, the forces for Svenson are continuing to push more and more forward, are continuing to push Rildcom as Rildcom loses against Svenson. Once again, if he's not careful, he's going to lose an armory and a couple of the forces. I think everything that's left for Rildcom is rather anemic. I don't believe he has a crane or anything. Svenson almost has free reign to move into all of that. I don't know if we lost the construction yard for Dunetiger. That does appear to be the case. Dunetiger is sort of doing this fighting retreat, selling everything he can, trying to regroup. Things aren't looking super great for him. However, the further he gets into his base, the more defender's advantage he has, and the longer it'll take for Pennywise to regroup his forces. And there is the GG. It doesn't look like Pennywise thinks that he can stop the assault of Svenson over there in the south. He decides to throw in the towel, giving yet another point to Dunetiger and Svenson. What a great round, Commander. Grab yourself another drink, and I'll see you in the next one. Welcome to Murderer's Row. We are in match 4, round 4, between Pennywise and Rildcom versus Dunetiger and Svenson. Pennywise is elected to go with yellow this time around for his color. Words are hard, and it looks like Rildcom is sticking with his purple, but is moving to nod. Their opponents in the south, Svenson has decided to go with the pink and get going with nod, and Dunetiger has decided to go with his traditional orange, but also moving over to nod. Nod appears to be the faction for this particular map. Everybody has started off relatively slow, just getting a little bit of their scouting off. I do really enjoy the Murderer's Row map. It is interesting to see every time what sort of tactics get to be deployed. The map is, I know I say interesting a lot, but the map is sort of unique with its number of buildings sort of in these kind of choke points where you can set man spam. That may be why Nod is particularly good, because they have the defense from the towers. It does look like Pennywise is going to be able to get a little bit of scout over here with his buzzer squads, so he's going to be able to see A, what his opponents are, and B, what they are up to, which is a good thing to know, especially if you're going to get something sneaky from your opponents. However, I don't believe Rildcom has been able to get a scout inside of Dunetiger's base, who appears to be the one to do something sneaky. It looks like we've got an operations center over here, and probably a reckoner, I bet. Yep, there's a reckoner, and there is the first set of black hands. It looks like Dunetiger has decided to go on the aggressive, or go on the aggression this time around, that he doesn't want to sit idly by, he doesn't want to be defensive and deal with that. He wants to pressure his opponent early on. Not a bad call. He is deciding to go directly the quickest path to Rildcom, which means Rildcom is going to see it coming, and he's going to be able to have at least a little bit of time to prepare. It seems like just a small amount to go from here to here, but that is going to make a difference, especially if he does make a detour, if Dunetiger does make a detour. He does have a bike over here for the defense, for the to help aid with the assault, and if he's not careful, he needs to deploy rather quickly. No, that actually appears to be a misclick. Looks like he clicked the wrong button as his forces move outside of the Reckoner. However, the Reckoner is in a good position to take out this war factory. If it just maintains its fire, no pun intended, that it will be able to kill it rather quickly. Actually, they're going to move their attack to the laser turrets rather unceremoniously. They're going to get crushed, but they do take out the war factory. I'm not sure if that is worth it for Dunetiger, losing those little bits of forces. But they are going to... No, he does not commit to getting that harvester. I would have... Those forces were already engaged. The harvester is only 1 HP, but that's easy to say from the armchair of the caster, from the armchair of the observer. But it is really unfortunate to see that harvester making it away with just barely not enough HP. Take out that harvester, and the war factory could have made a bit more of a difference for Dunetiger, but I think that puts Dunetiger just a little bit in the negative. We're getting a little bit of Devourer tanks over here to support this nerve center and this natural expansion movement by Pennywise, while Rildcom sort of begins to poke and prod at his opponent, begins to poke and prod at Dunetiger. This probably would be the best time, since he just spent all of those resources. Pennywise doing a very good job of taking this contested area. Well, I won't say taking, but at least contesting this contested area. Dealing with Svenson. Svenson does seem to be the powerhouse of this team, at least in this 2v2 combo, and he's been able to do a good amount of damage. It'll be nice to see if Rildcom will decide to reinforce his opponent, although Pennywise is getting his forces pushed back a little bit by these Scorpion tanks and the man spam of Svenson. Svenson doing a very good job on the defense. However, these buzzer hives are going to be absolutely a pain in the butt to deal with. They're just going to keep coming, buzzer squad after buzzer squad. And it actually looks like we're getting a little bit of that double team that I was talking about for Rildcom. Rildcom deciding to back off. Interesting choice. I don't know why, especially because he sees that Pennywise is moving forward on the assault. That would be the best time to hit him in the back. He could have just gone straight for these harvesters, but maybe he was expecting more forces. I'm not sure. He does get a blue Tiberium harvester that Svenson was going after, so it's not all for naught, but I feel like he could have done a lot more damage. He could have already been in the back line of his opponent and forcing his opponent essentially to deal with giving up his construction yard, which would suck, or giving up his harvesters. He can't defend both at the same time against both players. But it looks like Rildcom has decided to go the long way around over here on the left-hand side. Dunetiger's forces are just finally starting to exist on the map. He's finally starting to get some things going for him. But it's still slow going. He's all but out of this fight. And there goes the construction yard for Svenson. Svenson is in deep trouble. All of these forces are on his front line. All of these forces are here, and there is no response from Dunetiger. Dunetiger is not able to help whatsoever. He's not able to do an assault or anything like that. I say that, and there goes a good chunk of man spam and a base rush into Rildcom's base. I think it's too little too late, though. I'm not sure how much it's going to be able to do. He's sort of hasn't been great with his timing. Rildcom hasn't been great with his timing either, at least in supporting Pennywise. Once again, easy to say from the armchair, but that is just what I see for now. If their coordination was a bit better, I believe Svenson would already be down and out, and they'd be able to deal with this base rush on top of Rildcom's base. Man spam moving in, however, the answer is Shredder turrets. Hopefully these Scorpion tanks will move forward and try the best they can to get the crushes. They just barely stop. However, they do get a couple of the flame squads. That's going to be good. They get a couple of the black hands, while the assault for Pennywise is beginning to move in on Svenson. Svenson has thrown in the towel, giving all of his forces to Dunetiger. I believe Dunetiger did a bit of a fire sale over there in order to support this advance, in order to support this over here. He does have a good chunk of other forces ready to move forward. If I was him, I would split that half and half to the north and set up half for the defense. I feel like that would be the best answer because you need to capitalize on this assault. I would almost go all in. It wouldn't even be necessarily a bad idea to go all in on this assault, because if you can knock out Rildcom, or at least push Rildcom over here, you can retake his infrastructure and you can continue building up your forces, but that does not appear to be the case. Looks like all of the forces are going to push out Pennywise over there in the south, meaning that this assault in the north is going to be absolutely wasted. This construction yard is going to get taken out, those units are going to get taken out, and just Dunetiger has lost so much over there through very little gains. He's been able to push out Pennywise and get a good chunk of damage, but this fire and retreat is doing a lot of damage to them as they're making their way over there. Another Devourer tank does finally get taken out. Rocket Squad doing a very good job at that in particular. And it looks like, I can't tell, oh, that's Rildcom's servers. Rildcom's Harvester is going to be able to grab some blue Tiberium for himself. That's going to be super helpful. And it looks like, actually, Rildcom tried to do a little bit of revenge and push his way into his opponent's base with all these flame tanks. Dunetiger is probably going to lose this here in a second, because all of these forces are on his base, and his main base, or his main forces are engaged with Pennywise against their anti, which is these gunwalkers that do very well against infrastructure, plus all these buzzer squads, plus all of this. And the forces of Dunetiger have crumbled in the north. They're all but dead. And there it is. There is the GG, ladies and gentlemen. It looks like that has tied up our score on 2-2, giving Pennywise and Rildcom a win in that match. Knocking out Svenson definitely seemed to be the key, and it was much easier to do on that smaller map. And Dunetiger's Reckoner Rush just wasn't able to find the purchases that it needed. If he'd been able to kill another Harvester or two or something else, or if he had been able to deploy. But once again, that's a bunch of ifs, and I'm in the caster's chair. I will see you in the final round, Commander. Welcome back, Commander, to the final round between Pennywise and Rildcom versus Dunetiger and Svenson. We are on the map, The Harvest. This confrontation is brought to you by invisible speed bumps, slowing you down whether you notice or not. Over on the left-hand side, we have purple and yellow. It looks like Pennywise is decided to stick with his yellow and play with his scrin. And it looks like we're also getting some scrin from Rildcom. That'll be an interesting mix-up. I haven't seen too much scrin from him, so it'll definitely be cool to see. Dunetiger sticking with his orange and going with, it looks like, my notes say GDI, but that is not GDI. It looks like going with scrin. And it looks like Svenson says he's sticking with his pink and sticking with his nod. I've been able to see him do quite a good amount of work with the Nod faction, so it'll be interesting to see how that mixes up, especially against all these Scrin. I think Nod, in my opinion, has a good answer to the forces of Scrin, which is the avatars and man spam. Maybe it was just because I was watching Futurama do that particular one. I think it was Futurama versus Bart Jones, but it seemed to have great gains against that. Maybe one of the higher level players can let me know if that is something that is common, or if just Futurama is doing very well in that particular show match where he was able to use all of these Scrin forces, or all of these Nod forces against Scrin, where you got a good chunk of man spam mixed in with avatars to deal the damage. And it seemed to do quite a lot. I do not know the unit composition as far as like what all works against what in conjunction with each other. Like I know basically the rock, paper, scissors part where, you know, like APCs are good against infantry, that kind of stuff. But I really don't know what complements one another, especially against, like, say, like double Scrin faction. We do have one set of blue Tiberium over here that's noteworthy in the south, and this map, the Harvest, has a very large contestant Tiberium set in the center, which usually ends up in very large fights. Hopefully we'll see that as well. Getting a little bit of a ping over here to let, no, actually it's Rildcom's ping, letting him know that his opponents are a little bit behind on the grabbing of the Tiberium. For whatever reason. I'm sure Svenson has his reason, because I think that is his part of the expansion, but we'll get to see here in a little bit. Pennywise moving over into the center with a little bit of support from Rildcom. They are beginning a small little bit of assault, but they're going to lose a Gunwalker almost for free. I don't think that Gunwalker is able to really get anything. It almost gets one of those guys right there. Oh, and actually that is not the lightning spike I thought for the opponent. That is the lightning spike of... who is that? That's really hard to see. I can't tell if that's pink or purple. Unfortunately, those colors are really similar. We do get another lightning spike over here, but that one is orange, and I can tell who that one is. That one belongs to Dunetiger. So this must belong to Rildcom over here, since the other one is not a Scrin faction. A bunch of these Shardwalkers are going to push their opponent out, so I'm guessing he is not Scrin then. I always forget which one, if it's Reaper 17 or if it is... Traveler 59 that has the Shardwalkers. I want to say it's Reaper. Once again, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get a whole bunch of corrections for this tournament, and I'm actually here for it because it makes me a better caster when you guys let me know, oh, hey, X is Y, and, you know, that kind of stuff. It's super helpful to me. Forces of Pennywise are going to get pushed out just a little bit. He's not wanting to commit to any sort of assault as Svenson moves his way into his opponent's base, and they're absolutely uncontested. And it's only going to take 2 volleys to kill one of these full Harvesters. That is extremely unfortunate. Pennywise is losing a Harvester for free, a full blue Tiberian Harvester for free, and Pennywise is not happy about it. He is pinging his opponent, letting his opponent know that he is not in a great spot. Secret Tank is going to move forward. One's going to get taken out. Rildcom losing another force for free, so these units were able to get a Harvester for free, and they were able to get a Seeker Tank for free. Svenson just absolutely on top of his game. He is getting pushed back in his base over in the south. I don't know where his fast-moving units are. They're there. They decided to go back and do some repairing, and it looks like Dunetiger's being a little bit quiet this time around. Maybe he's deciding to tech up and move forward. The assault from Pennywise is beginning in the south on top of Svenson. We're going to get to see this engagement once again. Hopefully we'll get to see an all-out brawl between these two players. We haven't been able to see Svenson versus Pennywise too much in this fight, so it'll be interesting to see that. All of the forces are beginning to commit for Svenson. However, they're not able to concave, while Pennywise is absolutely able to concave, picking off more and more units of his opponents. There are Seeker Tanks mixed in with these Gunwalkers, and that's going to do rather decent against the Scorpion Tanks, but I think the Scorpion Tanks overall have the advantage, and that appears to be the case. Svenson doing a very good job of continuing this assault, killing Gunwalker after Gunwalker. He needs to be killing these Seeker Tanks, though, in my opinion, if I remember correctly, the Seeker Tanks deal more damage than the Gunwalkers, but maybe he's got some man spam that he's building up, or maybe he knows something that I do not know. Shardwalkers and tripods are beginning to position and move over here in the south, and we actually get a little bit of a sense possibly moving into Rildcom space. Maybe they can get that Tiberium spike, which would definitely be helpful. And it looks like Rildcom is also the first to move into the center of the map. He's built a gravity stabilizer, which is the airfield for the particular Scrin faction that he is playing. And it looks like Rildcom has decided to go for his opponent's Tiberium spike. Once again, not a bad idea. He's pressuring the center, controlling the center, and destroying more of the resources of his opponents. However, if Rildcom is not careful, he's going to lose all of his forces here to the combined efforts on the right-hand side between Dunetiger and Svenson, because Dunetiger and Svenson are moving in with their main forces to deal with that. Pennywise needs to support this, otherwise they're going to lose the center altogether, and that center, especially on this map, is particularly powerful to deal with. There is the first planetary array to start poking on his opponents. Their biggest threat is going to be these Shardwalkers, but these Shardwalkers, I believe, were absolutely forgotten by Dunetiger. I'm not sure what Dunetiger was doing. Maybe he was... Oh, that's what it is. He's got a couple of units over here. He's got a couple of shock troopers moving inside the base, and so he forgot those Shardwalkers over in the center. He is able to get a couple of harvesters, slowing down Pennywise, forcing Pennywise to make a couple of sails and doing more and more damage to Pennywise, delaying his economy, while Svenson moves his way into the center. He is the first of the right-hand side team to move into the center of the map construction-wise. Pennywise is still sitting here on the southern area, but it looks like the Scorpion tanks and the defenses are still here ready to do something. Laser fence on the construction yard does come out for the Nod faction. It looks like he is there to stay. Ping does happen for Rildcom. It looks like Pennywise is going to move in over here on the south, hopefully divert some of the forces of Svenson. I don't believe Svenson can fight off what is here in the south with what he's got. These forces do look rather anemic, especially with a Devastator Warship here. There it is. Svenson is forced to move back and defend his base against the assault of Pennywise, hopefully giving Rildcom time to move into the center of the map. That's what I would be doing. There are the forces over here by Dunetiger. Dunetiger has a couple of tripods, but I'm not sure it's enough to fight off of Rildcom. Pennywise is actually getting a little bit pinched right here. That is extremely unfortunate. His units get split right here. Tripods get split right here. I'm not sure Svenson is paying complete attention. He's worried about this assault over here in the center. And there is a really great one-click right there, grabbing a whole bunch of the Buzzer Squads, a whole bunch of the Gunwalkers. That could make the difference. However, there is another one-click on the opposite side of the map, taking 3 tripods. That may be the better of the 2 stasis fields. And it looks like the forces are starting to crumble over here in the north. Pennywise and Rildcom just doing a good job of coordinating their assaults moving forward. Rildcom is going to win the center, and it looks like Pennywise is going to do a good chunk of damage to the infrastructure. However, Svenson does decide to back up and push his opponent just a little bit further out here. Dunetiger really just not able to hold up against Rildcom. Rildcom doing an amazing job taking over the center, taking the gains that Svenson tried to move in and get. Svenson has decided to go full send for the forces of Pennywise, and Pennywise is doing everything he can to move his forces as far away from that in order to distract his opponent, in order to keep his opponent away from the center of the map so they can continue to develop that center section. That'll be extremely important in the game. There is the one-click. Pennywise buying himself even more time to take out more and more of the infrastructure, more and more everything that he can of his opponent. There is the one-click on one, I think possibly 2 harvesters. That second harvester is a little hard to see, but he is still going to lose infrastructure. That one-click is still there on top of the Purifiers, and the Purifiers are not able to move their way forward, while Rildcom wipes up the forces of his opponents in the center, controlling that center section of the map even more. Nobody's really out of Tiberium just yet. Looks like Dunetiger did finally throw in the towel and gave the rest of his forces to Svenson. Probably the wiser decision here. However, they both decide to throw in the towel. They lost the center, and ultimately they get knocked out of this quarterfinals. They get knocked out of this $200 league. Not sure if they want to call it a tournament or league. Either way, that makes our winners Pennywise and Rildcom. They will progress further on into the semifinals. We do have one more set of quarterfinals coming up. I will see you there, Commander. Thank you for joining me, Commander. We are in the second set of rounds in the quarterfinals. On the map, Forgotten Dunes. This round is brought to you by Socially Distant Hugs, keeping you close, but not too close. Start us off in the top left-hand corner of the map, wearing the blue and green robes, sporting the Reaper 17 and Nod gloves. We have FiReSToRM, joined today by Lamas. Their opponents for the moment in the cyan and pink robes, sporting the GDI and steel talon gloves, we have Futurama, joined today by FateZero. All fighters ready? Begin! We get a little bit of a treat here. I don't think I have ever got a chance to see FateZero and Futurama team up. I'm curious to see how things will play out in their play style. Everybody has begun with their scouting. Just everything is moving along rather nicely. It looks like we have one Tiberium spike per player, as well as a set of blue Tiberium down in the sort of center middle part of the map. It does look like we get a ping from Futurama. He notices that there are a couple of descents coming from the blue player from FiReSToRM. Futurama pings it out rather quickly. Those will have to be dealt with, but right now they do not really have the forces. One thing a descents can really do some damage on, especially early on, is that Tiberium spike. If they can get there in time, they can nuke it, but maybe they are going for the MCV instead. I guess that would be a juicier target. It is a bit more of a risk because it's probably going to have some sort of escort. And there it is. There's the escort. There is the APC, which if it keeps its distance can do quite a good amount of damage to these disintegrators. However, Futurama still has to be careful, because if these disintegrators get past them, and there are 4 of them, then they can do quite a large amount of damage. However, it looks like they're going to opt to do not too much whatsoever. A couple of shots from Lamas over here, but nothing to write home about. Disintegrators sort of show up and leave without doing any damage. I feel like the safer bet would have been to go for that Tiberium spike. And actually, the disintegrators are going to get caught over here by the garrisoned rifleman squad, taking out a couple of them before they get there, and followed up by an APC just right there. I'm not sure it's worth losing all of those disintegrators just to take out a couple of riflemen, but there they are. Looks like those are our first early losses right there. And we actually have a full shielded Tiberian harvester over here from, I believe it's, looks like FiReSToRM. Yeah, from FiReSToRM. I think he's still going to be able to get out. The APCs can only do so much damage, and there's a Shard Gunwalker and a Secret Tank coming to support it, but he just was not watching that harvester like he should have. As soon as he seen those forces, he should have backed that harvester up. But once again, easy for me to say. Lamas has garrisoned some troops in the structure right next to the Tiberium spike of his opponent, and they're really beginning to hammer down on that. Secret Tank is forced to move its way back, as well as this APC. One APC does go down. It looks like FiReSToRM is coming out on top of these minor engagements. Aside from losing those disintegrators, his vehicles are doing a little bit better as everybody sort of pokes and prods and looks for a way inside of their opponent's base. And speaking of that, there is Lamas. He is now inside his opponent's base, but there are pit bulls ready here for the defense, and they outnumber his opponent quite significantly. Those garrison units do finally get kicked out of their area. They are still on the map and doing some damage, but nothing to write home about yet. The forces for everybody are really starting to build up. Actually, and if FiReSToRM's not careful here, he's going to get pincered here. There are a lot of pit bulls coming his way. Not to mention, I think Futurama could probably take this force off by himself. He does have to back his harvester off a little bit, and it looks like the whole goal is for FiReSToRM to build some time and get this set of blue Tiberium, but that's only going to be able to do so much. Lightning Spike does come out, and this is an all-out engagement. However, this is a 1v2 for FiReSToRM versus that. However, Lamas is attacking his opponent's base in the north, but the more important part is going to be this assault right here. It looks like the combined forces of Futurama and the combined forces of FateZero are going to be able to push everyone out over here. They're not going to be able to get any harvesters, but I'm not sure those harvesters are worth taking all of that damage. It does look like the bikes were finally taken down over here. I'm not sure what kind of damage they were able to dish out. It looks like a good number of harvesters were probably taken out over on this side of the map. And actually, not all the bikes are dead. There's still one over here that's going to be able to get a little bit of a scout. He needs to move it away from that watchtower, but he's probably got other things on his mind. And there goes the last bike over there. I think actually he may have had a successful assault, because I don't see too many harvesters left over on this side. This is the old main base. It doesn't matter quite as much, and I actually get a little bit of an assault over here. Futurama is moving into the base of FiReSToRM, moving into the natural expansion of FiReSToRM, but he does not have the forces to make a real assault. He's just knocking on the door and letting his opponent know that he is there. we get another ping by Futurama, letting him know that there is an APC, or that he's moving his APC, or maybe he's telling him to move his APC up. Either way, a little bit of communication right there. Pitbull's moving further into the south, probably looking to help reinforce this blue Tiberium and make sure that their opponents can get it. There's not much there as of right now. The right-hand side team has done a very good job so far of controlling the center of the map. Got a couple of disruptor towers over here to help the bases, to help the natural expansion of both players on the left-hand side. They're going to have defender's advantage if their opponents push in. However, controlling that center is big. And it actually looks like we get some disintegrators sneaking around over here to the north, possibly doing some damage. I would be going for either those APCs. And oh no, and actually there's Wolverines here ready and waiting for them. Two Wolverines are going to be able to do a lot of damage to these disintegrators. Probably take out the majority of them, if not all of them. There they go. Two Wolverines take out all of those disintegrators. Lightning Spike and Shadow teams have moved their way inside of the base of their opponent, have moved their way inside the base of FateZero over here. Yeah, FateZero is the pink, but I'm not sure that it's going to be able to get too much done. Shadow teams get taken out just as quickly as they move their way in. A bit of a waste of resources, and I'm not sure any harvesters were taken out or really any damage was dealt. Barely even any delay. It does look like we got FiReSToRM positioning over here, over in the center of the map, moving his way to start dealing with Futurama's push. However, this is a good chunk of man spam and a good chunk of mammoth tanks over here. The only thing they don't really have to do is something to fight with if we get a bunch of ground units from Scrin, which I don't think is likely. Futurama splitting up his forces, actually probably trying to force his opponent back. He's going to force him into one engagement or another. Maybe he's looking to pincer his opponent. That would be the best thing that he can do. If he can go in the back with those mana tanks and start hitting a bunch of items, he can do quite a significant amount of damage. And actually, the support over here by all of these pitbulls are going to move in and help take out a little bit of the infrastructure and a couple of these shielded harvesters. Futurama and FateZero doing a really good job coordinating and working together with these various different assaults. I would like to see Futurama push more into the center of the map, but he doesn't know where the forces of each opponent are. He is still taking out Lifeline after Lifeline, taking out all these harvesters, and he's absolutely uncontested. That's got to absolutely sting for the left-hand side of the faction, for Lamas and for FiReSToRM over here. They just keep losing harvester after harvester, and nothing is contesting them. We do finally get a tripod. We do finally get a laser turret, but it is too little, too late. The damage is done. The majority of those harvesters are taken out, and that's going to hurt everybody. That's going to hurt Lamas. Lamas is finally moving his main engagement in over here. However, all of the Wolverines are here to deal with this massive amount of man spam, and we do have mana tanks to fight the Purifiers. Here we go. This is going to be one of the big assaults, and if Lamas loses this, they're going to be out so much when it comes to resources, when it comes to just about everything. There goes Lamas' force. They absolutely are starting to crumble. There is next to nothing left of them. There is a couple of avatars, and that's really about it. It looks like 2 avatars are the only thing that are left, and if they're not careful, those are going to be taken out as well. And capitalizing on that, all of these pit bulls with their mortar upgrades are moving into the base, the old main base of Lamas, doing a large amount of damage. Second assault has begun over here by FiReSToRM. FiReSToRM moving in on Futurama, but he doesn't look like he quite has the forces in order to fight that. This is a lot of mana tanks in order to deal with, and the forces for the left-hand faction are all but decimated. There's next to nothing left. The coordination from the right-hand side faction, from Futurama and FateZero, is just absolutely here to stay on top of it. There is the GG. There is them throwing in the towel, giving this first round to Futurama and FateZero. I will see you in the next round, Commander. Welcome to Match 7, Round 2 between Lamas and FiReSToRM versus Futurama and FateZero. We are on the map Wastelands Dam. Over in the left-hand side of the map, it looks like we are hanging on to yellow and green, and our respective factions are going to be Reaper 17 and Scrin for FiReSToRM and Lamas. Futurama is holding on to his cyan and moving on to Scrin, one of his stronger factions, if I am correct. And FateZero is holding on to his pink and moving over to GDI. Wastelands Dam is probably still one of my favorite maps, if not for the terrain. I'm also a really big fan of the neutral mothership that comes in. I remember playing this game super early on and thinking that thing was absolutely awesome just to see it in the map pop its way around. And that was really like in my beginning gaming days. Weirdly enough, on Xbox 360. We're getting a little bit of scouting over here. It looks like we got our yellow your yellow faction, words are hard, our yellow player, FiReSToRM, doing a good job with his buzzers, taking out the scouts of his prospective opponents, sort of freeing everything up. It does look like we're actually going to get Buzzer Squad versus Buzzer Squad and Futurama coming out on top. That's not a combo I get to see early on in the fights, so I'm happy to see that. Futurama, like I said, did come out on top, and it looks like the scouting for the North is going to be decent there. Futurama is being chased over here by, it looks like one, maybe two sets of Buzzer Squad, and is going to be pushed out rather quickly. He doesn't have really a way to defend that. Buzzer Squads for FiReSToRM are going to move their way into their opponent's base and get a little bit of scouting. They're going to see that Futurama has begun the expansion to his natural expansion. I'm sure, yeah, right behind FiReSToRM, and looks like everybody is moving to their natural expansions rather quickly. Something that's also really interesting to see when you get some of the nod factions, especially if you get the Awakened Squads over here, is people will send Awakened Squads or something with EMPs right here to stop this expansion of the construction yard or to delay it. Definitely a really irritating tactic and can save you some time, can build you a little bit of a small advantage early on if you can capitalize it on it right if your opponent is not expecting it. Definitely something that can help out in the transition to the early game. We do finally get a refinery for Futurama over on his natural expansion, moving in over on this side. Probably pretty soon going to be moving into the contested territory of to where he would fight Lamas, and we're probably going to see FiReSToRM in a little bit fighting FateZero over in the south. Another thing I really enjoy about this map is the way it is split up. It's like you got kind of two 1v1s going on with how things are split up, and not really in a bad way. It's just sort of nice to see. Futurama is going to spot the Lamas. Is going to spot Lamas trying to grab this blue Tiberium, and if Lamas is not careful, he's going to get taken out here. However, if he gets a half a load of Tiberium, that it's going to be at least worth it to grab, but I'm not sure he is. No, actually, Futurama's going to give up the chase. He did force out the Harvester, which is probably his main objective, and so he's going to stick with that. We're getting our first real set of aggression over here. Shardwalker's moving into FateZero's base with no real effect. Futurama moving in to take that contested territory to move some troops in and possibly do some harassment on Lamas. Lamas does appear to be ready for it. He does have a good number of gunwalkers and a good number of disintegrators to move their way in. However, if they're not careful, they won't concave and they won't do the damage that they need to. Disintegrators are starting to get picked off by from Futurama. Futurama needs those disintegrators in order to tie up this fight. Here in a second that Lamas is going to move in. We also have another assault in the south, a small skirmish between FiReSToRM and between FateZero. There is the lightning spike of Futurama that's going to help him. There are the shields. He's timed that perfectly to get the shields and the lightning spike as he moves his way in. And the only thing left to really contest him is a handful of gunwalkers and a few disintegrators, which are not going to be enough to push Futurama back out of there. It does look like, for the moment, FateZero has pushed FiReSToRM out of his base, but Futurama is continuing his assault over here, and I think he's pretty much lost this. He needs to start backing up his forces now. At this point, I'm not sure he can win this fight, but maybe he knows more than I do. He does have shields, he does have upgrades, and he does seem to be making his way through it. Looks like I may have actually been wrong there. Futurama clearly knowing much better than I am, moving his way over. We got some one-clicks over in the south, tying up the majority of the forces of FateZero. That's extremely unfortunate. However, those forces are back, and they do number quite significantly, and Defender's advantage is there. Futurama continuing his assault over in the north, whittling down the forces of Lamas, keeping Lamas absolutely occupied while these Devourer tanks move in and mop up the forces of Lamas. FiReSToRM getting a ping off, letting his opponent know that there is a tripod from Futurama moving their way in, and that can definitely be the answer for those Devourer tanks. Futurama's assault in the north has finally begun to dwindle, has finally begun to die. He did do a good chunk of damage. I'm not sure he got any harvesters, but he got a good chunk of his opponent's units and pressured him for just a little bit. Futurama regrouping his forces and transitioning over into his tripods, moving quite forward. It looks like we've got our first upgrade for FiReSToRM over here, he's got his shield upgrade, and if he's not careful, though, he's not concaving real well. That barracks is going to get almost two-shot by the volley from those perspective units, but they need to watch out for these Ravagers, because these Ravagers can do some real damage to him. The Shardwalker is the answer to that as the Shardwalker moves forward, but however, it's going to get taken out by the Shatterers of FateZero. FateZero needs to keep playing a sort of fighting backwards retreat. There's the Sonic Emitter for the defense. If he can hold on long enough, maybe his hope is that he can start taking out more and more of the forces of Lamas in the north. He needs to focus that over there. One click does happen over there and does a small amount of damage to the Devastator tanks. And here we go. Here are our answer. This is the Juggernauts. The Juggernauts are going to be able to do a whole bunch, especially with support from this Mammoth tank and this tripod. That's probably going to be enough to fight off this advancement. They might get a tripod, they might get a Mammoth tank, and no, the micro for Futurama is absolutely here. It's going to do a whole bunch. More and more shields of FiReSToRM get taken out, and a Devastator warship moves in. Devastator warship is going to be good at dealing with that Sonic Emitter. They need to have some sort of anti-air in order to fight that. Every time it looks like FateZero finds a little bit of a solution to this assault, FiReSToRM is right there ready and waiting to throw another curveball at him like this Devastator warship. However, if he's not careful, he's going to end up on the defensive with all of these Mammoth tanks, with these Mammoth tanks and with these tripods, and especially with these Juggernauts. However, FiReSToRM is fully committing to that. We actually get a one-click over here, hitting the majority of the tripods of Futurama. If Futurama's not careful, he's actually going to lose this engagement against Lamas. Lamas is absolutely decimating his forces. He only has 3 or 4 tripods left over here. So as soon as that one click is done, as soon as that stasis field is up, he's going to be in some hurt if he doesn't back up. Sensing that, it looks like he's going to regroup to get the concave going in order to fight Futurama. He cannot afford large mistakes against a player like Futurama, and it looks like Futurama is turning around this assault over here. Meanwhile, we have another assault in the south. It looks like FiReSToRM and Lamas are pushing into the base of FateZero, but FateZero is still doing a phenomenal job on the defense and taking down the drone ship of their opponent. Futurama has mocked up the forces of Lamas and gets a kill on the drone platform. That is 2 drone platforms down for the left-hand side of the faction. That is definitely going to be putting some hurt on them. It looks like mass Devastator warship are going to be the answer, and it looks like FateZero actually has the answer to that answer. It is slingshots. These slingshots are going to be able to do a crazy, crazy amount of damage. However, I think the goal for the Devastator warship is to weaken the front line, is to weaken the production of his opponent, which he has most certainly done. Futurama continuing assault over in the north. He's able to walk right into Lamas' space. Lamas is thrown in the towel, giving everything to FiReSToRM. FiReSToRM is quickly to follow. It looks like the defense was there for FateZero, and the aggression was there for Futurama. Futurama definitely being the MVP in that, moving in both the northern and the southern areas, fighting in both of those theaters almost simultaneously. That is the second round, giving yet another point to Futurama and FateZero. I'll see you in the next one. Here we are in match number 8, round 3, between FiReSToRM and Lamas and Futurama and FateZero. This skirmish is brought to you by out of context quotes, because it's funnier when it doesn't make sense. Over in the top left-hand corner, now switching to, it looks like red and green, which is FiReSToRM and Lamas playing respectively Reaper 17 and the Skrin faction. Over on the right-hand side of the map, keeping their same colors, we have the cyan for Futurama and the pink for FateZero, playing their respective factions of Skrin and GDI. The Harvest is sort of a common match that plenty of these players get some practice on, and I honestly, even though we see it a good amount, I think it's a good map to play on. It's got a lot of good balance, it's got a lot of good areas for these fights, for these engagements. So at least from a caster perspective, it is still nice to see. I'm always happy to see some of the newer maps, and I try to get some replays from time to time in the newer matches. But in the tournaments, I expect we'll see more and more standard maps. And I'm still not quite sure if this one is considered a tournament. It is broken up bracket-wise like a tournament, but they pinned it down as a league. So I'm not sure quite what is the difference between a tournament and a league. Like I said before, there is that $200 prize pool, which I'm assuming will be split between whoever wins the whole shebang, whoever wins the whole league/tournament thing, and that's $100 per player, which is not a bad amount for doing a couple of these games, especially because a lot of these players are really just happy to play Command and Conquer, and the money is just sort of a bonus. I don't think anyone really relies on it, but you know, getting money for just playing the game that you love so much can't be a bad deal whatsoever. And from what I understand, there are a lot of people who send money out and who regularly donate to this. You know, hopefully if my YouTube channel starts making some money, I'll be able to sponsor some of these events. But right now, I am very much so a small fry and cannot do that. We're getting some small scouting over here. Not too much going on other than just everybody being pests, everybody moving in to their bunkers, grabbing their Tiberium spikes. One thing I thought was always really interesting on this map is the Tiberium spikes on each side right here, these double Tiberium spikes, because they always seem just a little bit too exposed for me, but maybe that's the point since there's two of them. And you do make your money back rather quickly if you capitalize on capturing them as quickly as possible. And actually, really, I didn't realize, I really appreciate the Skrin and Skrin sub-factions in this red. It looks really, really nice on them. I didn't realize how nice the red color looked on this alien faction. It's really, really sleek looking compared to some of the other ones. I know we typically see them in purple, I think, at least in the campaign, but it's still nice to see that red. Predator tank moving in where the blue Tiberium is, but they do not have the forces in order to contest this. In order to stop them from getting this blue Tiberium, Lamas gets a half load, and it looks like FiReSToRM gets a full load. That is the case. Futurama pushing over here in the north, maybe trying to grab control over either the center of the map or the northern EMP control center. That may be his goal. However, he's able to get 2 good bites off where he needs. There's a 1 click while the forces for FiReSToRM move their way in on the south, move their way in to start their assault on top of FateZero. FateZero's not careful, he's going to lose a whole bunch of units. There are a good number of disintegrators here, and the Predator tanks are not moving forward to take them out. Disintegrators are going to start focusing on the APCs. That is the call, that is what they need to kill, that is their primary threat. However, this assault is becoming absolutely muted for, it looks like FiReSToRM. The assault in the north seems to have actually gone Lamas' way. I was unable to catch that quite at that time, but FateZero has definitely won the assault in the south and is beginning to move his way into the blue Tiberium sector. FiReSToRM has decided to move his forces a little bit further to the north. Maybe he's trying to catch Futurama unawares, but Futurama is probably ready for it. He does have tripods supported over here by shielded gunwalkers, and that's going to do a lot. And he's actually got shields on his Annihilator tripods and a second tripod moving its way in. He's done very, very good at transitioning into his tripods rather quickly. We got a couple of Mechapeds over here by Lamas. I don't think those fare particularly well against the tripods, and you have to get some really, really good micro. For the most part, the only person I've really seen do really, really well with those Mechapeds are Bike Rush and Masterly from what I've seen. Not that there's not other players out there, but that's just what I can tell for now. And actually, the forces from FiReSToRM are moving into Futurama's base. They're not able to get anything they really want, but they are able to get a couple of Ravengers almost for free. Some small scouting of Buster Squads for Futurama moving in, checking out his opponent's base. More and more Mechapeds begin to build up for Lamas. Lamas seems to be thinking that is his transition to move into, grab some Seeker tanks, grab some of these Mechapeds. Not a bad call, especially if you can micro them really, really well. The forces for FateZero are building up rather nicely. He's got a couple of Hammerheads, a couple of Orcas to support that, and a handful of Shatterers. The Shatterers are definitely going to be really good into the Skrin forces. Mechapeds moving into the center of the map, looking to do some harassment on these tripods, but Futurama is ready for it. They do manage to take out, I can't tell if they were actually able to get a, nope, that was only a segment. So the forces for, or the losses for Lamas are rather limited right there. They're going to start picking on this plasma battery, trying to get it taken out before the assault begins. Maybe he's transitioning, and there it is, right on cue. There's the planetary assault carrier. If I was him, I would finish it off with the planetary assault carrier, but I don't know what kind of damage the plasma missile battery does to just a couple. And actually, maybe he's going to finish it with the Devastator warship, or just absolutely ignore it and make me a complete liar. The forces for FateZero continue to build up in the north, or in the south, I should say, while both sets of Lamas and FiReSToRM begin to build up in the center of the map, leaving Futurama sort of here by himself. There is some infrastructure over here by FateZero, but he's going to need more than just infrastructure. He does finally decide to move his units, seeing the writing on the wall, seeing what is possibly to come here in a moment. However, Lamas and FiReSToRM are actually in a decent position to get this if they can just time everything right, and if they have a way of dealing with Futurama. They do not have the coordination, though. It looks like FiReSToRM moves in by himself and loses a whole bunch of units almost unnecessarily. That is extremely unfortunate, but maybe he's just trying to bait everything in. They are able to catch one tripod in a bad spot with these planetary assault carriers, but I'm not sure it's really worth losing all of those shock troopers. One APC does get taken down, but that is minor in consideration of all of this. More plasma missile batteries are here, more slingshots are here to take out more and more of the air units of Lamas. Lamas is losing units left and right, losing air units left and right. However, these drone ships, I believe, can produce more and more of these guys. More shields on the air units as they begin, and it looks like it's full air for Lamas and ground units for FiReSToRM as they begin to work together, but they do not have the forces to fight this. It looks like FiReSToRM and Futurama just absolutely outnumber this. Maybe they can continue fighting this backward retreat and continue to get more and more units, but this is a lot of predators and a lot of other units to deal with. However, there's only a handful of slingshots to start taking out the air units. I think there's only 3 slingshots right here. Those 3 slingshots are going to be able to do a lot of damage, but 2 of them do get taken down, leaving not too much to fight all of these air units except for the plasma missile batteries inside the center part of the Tiberium. More and more slingshots get taken out left and right, but the call is to build more and more slingshots in order to support the tripods of Futurama. That is definitely his best bet. That's definitely what he can try to do. The Mechapedes are moving into the base of their opponents, are moving into the base of FateZero, doing what damage they can and being pests where they can. I'm not sure how much it would matter because the left-hand side force has lost a lot of forces, but the majority of the air units are still here, and they can still do a good chunk of damage. The big problem is going to be dealing with those plasma missile batteries, and with these slingshots, FateZero is building more and more anti-air to deal with it. That is definitely the call. That is definitely the support that Futurama needs to deal with. These air units just, it doesn't look like Futurama has much of an answer to them, and what answers he does have are actually set up inside a stasis field and locked in a quite terrible spot. They're going to come back online here in a minute, and there is a slow attrition on both sides. More and more air defenses continue to make their way out as they begin to prepare and move this. However, the air assault is not over, and this assault is not over whatsoever. This is just going to turn out to be an absolute slug out between these 4 players. They're just duking it left and right, taking losses left and right, pushing forward more and more, and it looks like a good chunk of the air units are taken out, but so were a whole bunch of Futurama's tripods. And meanwhile, while that's happening, those Mechapedes are still wreaking havoc on the units over here in the north. They do look like they're finally taken out in Futurama, but Futurama had to spend units, had to spend resources not defending the center in order to defend against the Mechapedes over here, buying them more and more time, buying the left-hand faction more and more time to take out more and more of the troops of there. The forces for the right-hand faction are now finally starting to look anemic. Those air units are just doing quite a lot of work. FiReSToRM is buying Lamas time to start doing damage with these Devastator warships, with these planetary assault carriers, is doing a very, very good job of that. I believe there were a lot of slingshots somewhere at some point, but maybe more and more. There are 5 or 6, and a couple of them actually have a few ranks in here. That is going to be the answer if they can continue to push those air units further and further out. If they can take those units out, they can retake a fight over here. A whole bunch of the Ravagers are going to move in and take the Reaper tripod almost down to half HP after taking out its shield. These slingshots are still putting in a lot of work, but these planetary assault carriers continue to rebuild their troops left and right and continue these assaults with this artillery, with this air artillery, with these Devastator warships. And there's just no answer to the Devastator warship because it's not like you can build artillery yourself and move that away. And actually, Futurama throws in the towel, followed quickly behind FateZero. It looks like they don't think they have the forces to deal with all those Devastator warships. Probably the correct call. They're going to save their energy for this next round. That does give our first point, the first round that goes to FateZero and Lamas. Let's see if they can fight this uphill battle and make a comeback. I'll see you there. There you are, Commander. Welcome to what is quite possibly the final round for FiReSToRM and Lamas. They have an uphill battle to fight on the map, Forgotten Forest. Over on the left-hand side of the map, we have in the blue, we have FateZero playing Zocob and Lamas in the green playing Nod. Over on the right-hand side, it looks like Futurama has held on to his cyan, moving on to GDI, and it looks like FateZero has held on to his pink and is playing Steel Talons. The scouting phase has most certainly begun. There are a good number of rifleman squads. It looks like 3 rifleman squads moving their way into the middle of the map, making their way forward. I don't know if the forest is a map I see a crazy amount. I do recall seeing this little like tilde in the center, this little swoosh a couple of times. So I probably have cast it a few times. Either way, I don't feel like I see it enough, and I don't know if that's just because it's old and played out or what the whole deal is with that. I do know the map looks really low res. I mean, granted, I am on a 2K monitor, so maybe that's why, but it still looks particularly more low res than a couple of the other mini-maps. So I wonder if there's got to be separate textures for the mini-map, I'm assuming. I'm curious how that code breaks down. That might actually be a question for Master Leaf. It sounds like that's something Master Leaf might know since he's done so many of these patches. I do believe that this is a different patch than Master Leaf does. If I remember correctly, this is patch 1.03, which is made by a different mod creator and has a little bit of a different rule, different shakeup. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Having variety in a game like this can make a difference. So when people get bored of playing this event or that event, they can go check it out. And from what I've seen from Bike Rush's videos, is there actually appears to be a whole like standalone mod for almost like a full like redesign of some of the units, where it kind of looks like Command & Conquer 2, but has the sort of 8-bit units from like Kane's Wrath plus a couple of extras. It definitely seems really interesting. I keep meaning to look up what that particular mod is. We're getting a little bit of scouting over here, but it looks like FateZero is going to lose his Pitbull just as quickly as he moves it in there, but he is going to see what he needs to see. And FiReSToRM's going to be a bit of a pest, occupying the garrison of FateZero, continuing to do minor damage to that Tiberium spike. Scouting does get sniped by the Watchtower while it still had power. There is the sell-off. Everybody is taking their time to develop their natural expansion. And actually, we have an airfield over here by FateZero. Let's see if he, if tipping his hand is gonna end up being worth it. Because usually, I think people wait for 4 Orcas, but maybe he's looking for something particularly easy to snack on. However, if they're not careful, these Pitbulls are gonna grab them. No, actually, they're gonna pass each other without even knowing that they are there. FateZero's gonna back out, possibly seeing those Orcas, and it looks like FateZero is pinging that the Orcas are on their way to Futurama's base. That is definitely something to know. Those Zocom Orcas can do quite a good amount of damage, and that ping may have saved the Harvesters of FateZero. Good ping there by the pink player, by FateZero. FateZero seems to be a very good asset when it comes to these 2v2s. He's been absolutely phenomenal in helping out Futurama, giving him air defense when he needs it, giving him this, that, and the other when he needs it. Granted, they did lose that last round, but they seem to be working quite well together. Not that the other side hasn't been working well together. They've actually been able to pull, FiReSToRM and Lamas has actually been able to pull off some decent moves, but their coordination at least seems a tiny bit less than the right-hand side. Futurama moving some forces over here in the south, killing some of these garrisons, trying to push some of the units back in order to occupy potentially this blue Tiberium, or at the very least push his opponents out. And he's going to be able to do it. He's going to be able to push Lamas out. He's not going to be able to get that Harvester, but he is going to be able to do a good chunk of damage, and most importantly, have control of that blue Tiberium. FiReSToRM moving some forces over in the center of the map, moving some Pitbulls, probably looking for something that he can snack on. If he times everything right, he can probably run into the main base and deal some damage to his opponents. No, I guess all the Pitbulls are here and ready to deal with that. Both sides have a large amount of Pitbulls. The forces for Lamas are just looking a little bit anemic, especially compared to Futurama, and he just keeps losing more and more forces trying to push his way in before he is ready, just sort of on the hopes. I'm not sure why he's not sending a scout. You can send a militant squad forward ahead to see what your opponent's doing. Having that scouting is really important, and that's kind of where you can see the difference in some of these skill levels, is like having the time to scout, because while these players are fighting this, they're building and grabbing resources and fighting at the same time. They're doing a whole bunch at once. And it all plays together. Plus, it's different because, like, not only do you have to be on top of your A game, so does your partner. They don't necessarily have to be quite as good as you, but if they are an absolute handicap. They can just drag you down with them, especially if they get taken out easy, if they don't support you. And it looks like both sides have done a very good job of supporting each other, of building their forces. Lamas, like I said, is looking pretty anemic. I'm not sure why he keeps moving these Scorpion tanks. And over here, I don't know how many Scorpion tanks he has to lose in order to go, okay, maybe I should just save up my forces. And there he goes. He just sends them once again to their death. This is extremely unfortunate for Lamas. Lamas, you gotta scout out a little bit, buddy. I know you want to get that blue Tiberian, but it's not worth it if you lose Scorpion tank after Scorpion tank. I know a good chunk of these pit bulls are getting taken out, but Futurama still controls it. That does seem a bit of a better answer, moving these squads, moving these man spam in. That'll be a good answer to that, but I would have saved those precious Scorpion tanks. They're going to count. We actually have an assault over here between FiReSToRM and FateZero over here in the north. FateZero not quite having the forces, I don't think, to take this out. But no, actually, they do have rail cannons on the... No, they don't have rail cannons on the Predator tanks. That's going to be extremely unfortunate. They are going to push their opponents a little bit further back and start dealing damage to the infrastructure. However, FateZero's mammoth tanks, FateZero is here to deal with it. He'll fight it. This fight could still go either way, but it's looking rather favorably for FateZero unless somebody intervenes, unless someone can make their way over here. And speaking of intervention, there are a couple of the mammoth tanks, probably just enough for Futurama to sway this fight in their advantage in the north. FiReSToRM pushing, hitting a little bit of ping, maybe asking for some assistance, or at least letting his ally know that Futurama is here to support. FateZero moving his way in, not with necessarily a support for Futurama. Futurama is backing his units back up, but I'm not sure he really needs to. It looks like the forces, it looks like the infrastructure is here for FateZero to continue this push. His opponent doesn't have a crazy amount of mana tanks. He just has all of these Predator tanks with no railguns in them. He is getting a little bit of reinforcements here that is going to help. It can potentially sway this in his fight. However, this War Factory is absolutely on the front line. It can get some repairs off. It can get some units out, and it's going to be able to continue pushing it. It can still go back and forward either way. Looks like FateZero is positioning. He has fully taken over the center of the map. Lamas is not really able to do too much to stop him. He's not able to contest it. He's not able to grab really too much. He is putting a couple of turrets on the deal, but that is about it. It looks like someone's saying that their harvester is bugged. I did not make out who said that. I didn't even realize I could see the text chat in this game. It looks like, yeah, Lamas is pinging that the harvester is bugged over and over. I don't know if that's an actual ping or if that's just him all capping it and throw it in here. And it looks like the forces for FiReSToRM have finally begun to crumble in the north. The assault from the assault from FateZero has just been absolutely relentless. And speaking of relentless assaults, it looks like Futurama is moving his way in to the main base of their respective opponents. He is still uncontested, and most importantly, he's controlling that center. Left-hand faction needs to get some Tiberium harvesting. They have got to be hurting on resources. All of their Tiberium is all but out and all but gone over on their side of the map. And one avatar does get picked off. That's extremely unfortunate. Every single one of the avatars is extremely precious for Lamas. Lamas needs every little bit of cash that he can get, and even though the fat lady has not sung in this game, as I've said before, she may as well have. This is all but in Futurama and FateZero's hands. It is their game to lose. They have to do a significant screw up in order to lose this match. Avatar's not even fighting back, taking a whole bunch of damage too. I don't know if they have rear armor, but either way, they're getting taken down. They're getting destroyed. More and more reinforcements are deployed, but they get taken out before they can even land, being killed left and right. And there it is. There is the GG. There is the game-winning round, awarding the win to Futurama and FateZero. FiReSToRM and Lamas are knocked out of this one, and we're going to move into the semifinals. Thank you for tuning in, Commander. I've been Korak. Transmission out.